Welcome to the FP&A Resume Blueprint webinar, where what I do is I try to bring in the best practices that have helped me in the last 10 years and get a lot of job offers and my last few FP&A roles. So I will just walk you through my resume. So this is not going to be a usual webinar. In fact, I will be opening my resume and I'll be walking you through my resume step by step, not just the resume, but also the thought process behind what goes into each section of the resume. So that is going to be the next 1 hour. What I'll do is I'll keep everybody on mute just in case if you have questions, I can take it from the chat box because we are, I think, 30 plus, 40 plus people. There might be background noise if I keep or if I allow you to unmute yourself. But at the end, we've kept 10, 15 minutes for Q&A. So we'll take all the questions at the end where I will ask you to unmute and you can ask your question there. So what I will do, and we've done this before, so we will take a pause. So there are different sections of the resume, 5 different sections, and we will do one section. We will take a quick pause. We'll see what questions are there in the chat box. I will answer those questions and then we will go to the next. Okay, Barbara, so I think we can take that offline. So that question is probably regarding some program that you have taken. So we can take that later on. So I'll answer that after the webinar. Okay, so I'll come back to that at the end of the webinar. All right. So let's begin. Before we begin, I'll just quickly share what are we going to cover today. So we'll talk about the importance of resume. A main section would be walking through a sample resume, and I've picked up mine so that you can see what are some of the best practices that you can follow, or maybe some of the best practices that you can share based on whatever you see today. So not saying that this is the best resume that I am sharing, but these are some of the practices I follow. And if there are some other best practices that you can recommend, I'd be happy to and open to take those as well. So we'll walk through my resume is what we are going to do in this webinar. So most of that webinar will be, or most of the session will be spent on walking through my resume step by step. Okay, some common mistakes which I feel people make. I've reviewed more than 1,000 resumes in the last 1.5 year, and I keep getting resumes every day and day out. So I'll point out some common mistakes so that you are aware of those and you don't make those same mistakes in your resume. And finally, we'll take question and answers. So we'll keep about 15-20 minutes at the end. So before you ask, the entire session is going to be about 60 minutes. So 60 minutes, and then maybe we'll spend about 10-15 minutes on the Q&A. So overall, about 70 to 80 minutes is going to be the duration of the webinar. So with that, I will get started. Before I start, I'll just quickly introduce myself. So some of you may not know me or maybe seeing me for the first time. So I'll just give a quick introduction about myself and my organization, which is FP&A Professional Institute. So I am a chartered accountant by profession, and I've been working in FP&A for the last 10 years. So out of the 14 years of my corporate experience, I've spent about 10 years in FP&A working with organizations like Citibank, Pfizer, and most recently I was working at Coursera as a FP&A lead for one of the regions. I am the co-founder and lead faculty at FP&A Professionals Institute, and also the author of the 2 books on FP&A, which is all about FP&A and from accounting to FP&A. Little bit about the FPI or FP&A Professionals Institute. So me and my co-founder, who is Dhaval Parvatikar, you see his picture here. So he started training in back in 2018, and he had his first course on Udemy called FP&A Foundations. I met him in 2022 when I had published my first book on FP&A, which is all about FP&A, and then we decided to partner together. We came up with the FP&A Masterclass, which is a 1 month, 4 week FP&A program where we cover FP&A in detail from beginning to end. So this is our flagship program, and we'll talk more about this in the at the end of the webinar. Okay, so that was 2022. By the end of and happy to share that we have completed 13 successful batches of the FP&A masterclass, and we are now going to kick off the 14th batch just over the weekend, which is tomorrow. We've also had we also created some self-paced programs based on the feedback that we got for FP&A. We had trainings on financial modeling for FP&A and Power BI. So this is what we were working during the last couple of years. And also this year we launched our 6 month in-depth certification, which is a 6 month certification on FP&A, which is a certified global FP&A professional, along with the second book that I mentioned, which was published just a couple of months back. Along with that, we do a lot of engagement activities among our alumni and our community members. So we do challenges. We've done once a quarter, we do a 3-day financial modeling challenge. We do a 5-day accounting to FP&A challenge. Also, we do a quiz on a weekly basis. And I see some of the uh, quiz participants are here as well. So welcome. And most recently, just 2 weeks back, we launched our AI for Finance and FP&A training, which is collaboration with another management consulting with a management consulting firm. So this is what we have been doing broadly over the last maybe 2.5 years. We have trained more than 3,000 students across all of these programs that you see on the screen. So that is a little bit about FP&A Professional Institute. With that, we will get into today's topic, which is the resume blueprint. So firstly, what we'll do is we'll walk you through one example of a sample resume. So let me just open that. Okay, so I'm just opening up my resume that I'm going to share with you today. And so this is a sample resume, which is my most recent resume. And we'll walk through this resume step by step during this webinar. But I just wanted to show you this is the entire document, and we'll talk about each of the steps as we go along the webinar. Also, if you stay till the end, I will be happy to share this Word document with you. So I'll be sharing this Word document by the end of this webinar, just in case if you want to take a look and if you want to replicate the format or maybe take it up and improve it for yourself. So I'll be sharing this at the end of the webinar. So what I'll do is I'll come back to the slides. Okay, as I mentioned, we'll start with the importance of the resume and then get into the different parts of the resume. So your resume is your opportunity to make a favorable first impression. So if you must have noticed any place that you work at, the first thing that must have been in front of your manager or your organization's representative is your resume, unless you were referred by someone or if you knew somebody in the organization, which might be a case. But in most cases, if you went through the routine interview process where you had submitted the CV and somebody went through your CV, and that is where you have the opportunity to make a very good first impression at your prospective employer. So that is why resume is important. Also, it talks about a lot of your skills as a finance and a FP&A professional. If you know that FP&A people are supposed to be very good at reporting, supposed to be very good at communication. These are some skills which are required for a good FP&A or a good finance professional. And the way you present yourself on your resume or way you craft your resume in a way gives a very good signal of how are your communication skills in terms of the writing communication, and also how are you in terms of what can you do in terms of when you have to present yourself or when you have to sell yourself. So that is another important part where your resume becomes one of the very few marketing tools for finance professions that are available. Okay, so if you must have noticed in some of the other professions, they have other marketing tools, right? So if you are, say, working as a video editor, all right, or as a graphic designer or as a marketing manager, okay, so you can have other things that you can use for marketing. For example, you can use your portfolio, you can use your body of work. But for finance professionals, it's very difficult to have other marketing materials apart from the resume, which becomes one of the key tool for them to market themselves. These are few reasons why I think the resume, especially for finance people, is very important. With that, we'll go into the different parts of the resume. So let me just stop here and check what do you think are different parts of the resume. So you must have built your resume, right, at least once in your career. So what are the different parts, or what does the resume look like? So can you just type in some of the sections that you usually have in a resume? Okay, career highlights, summary, experience, introduction. Okay, introduction, work experience, qualifications, skills, education, key achievements. Okay, skills, certifications, technical skills. Okay, so I think most of you covered this, right? All the points that we usually see in a resume, right, from your work experience to qualifications to skills to professional summary to some hobbies to certifications. So all of these are usually what are covered in the resume. So this is what we will talk about step by step or one by one. Okay, so the very first part of the resume is your. Okay, before that, let's quickly take a look at what usually a resume is comprised of, and you already mentioned that, right? So it first is your name and your contact details, followed by your summary or your key objective. Then you have your detailed professional experience. Some people call it work experience. Okay. So this is the main or the main body of the resume, followed by education section. Okay. Some people prefer to have education section first and then the work and the professional experience, which is fine. Then it is followed by interest and hobbies. And maybe you may want to add some skills or certifications, which is absolutely okay. So basically these are 5 or 6 key components of your resume. So now what we will do is we'll go into this one by one, and we'll take a pause after every section, and I'll show you what my resume looks like. You can ask me questions if you have any questions, if you have any recommendations, happy to take those as well. Okay, so let's start with the first section of the resume, which is basically your name and your contact number. Yeah, not the contact number, the name and your contact details. Okay, so what I prefer to have is my name in the bold at the top of the resume, followed by the second line where you have your email ID. So email ID followed by your LinkedIn profile link, and then followed by your contact number. So these are the three things I like to have. But I've seen other people also have couple of other few things here as well, and which you can talk about. So what do you think? What are the things that could be a part of this section, which is your name and your contact details? What else could you add? Okay, picture is something that you can add. What else? Nationality. Okay. Could you add your location? Yeah, you can add your location. City. Okay. Okay, basically you could add your maybe apart from these items, you could add your picture, you could add your location, you could add your nationality. So let's discuss about those items. Okay, what I would request is do not do drop me a personal DM right now. I may not be able to respond. So if you want to send me a DM, you can do it at the end when we take question and answer, because I won't be able to take a look at those right now. Okay, so let's talk about this one by one. So what do you think about the name? So right, name is right. We don't have to spend a lot of time talking about this. So what do you think about the email address? Okay, so email address should be there. Okay, make sure your email address is professional. A lot of people I've seen use very old email addresses, which they've created while they were in I don't know, school, and those are not very professional. So maybe I've seen some email IDs which are, say, uh, I don't know, rockstar abc xyz at the rate .com. So make sure those are not the ones which you created long back, or which you had created while you were in school days, and make sure those are sounding professional. They should be sounding good. The next one is your LinkedIn ID. A lot of people don't do this because I mean, a lot of recruiters these days want to take a look at your LinkedIn profile, and they should make it easier for them to make get to your LinkedIn profile, especially if you have a common name. So if you have a common name, it could be very challenging for the recruiter to go and find you on the LinkedIn. And especially if you have a good LinkedIn presence, or if you have a good LinkedIn profile, you should have your LinkedIn profile link as well here. And there is a setting in LinkedIn where you can go and you can change your URL to your name. If you have it, just in case if you don't have it, you could probably use some numbers at the end or at the beginning, just to make sure that you get your unique URL or your unique ID. So just make sure you go to LinkedIn. It's in the settings. Just change that URL and make sure you get your name. If you cannot get your name, get something which is very close to your name, and then use that in your resume. So I'm taking a question. We may not be able to showcase so much portfolio link. Is it good? So we'll discuss that. So let's discuss that in the next few minutes. Okay, but for now, you have your email ID, your LinkedIn profile link, and your contact number. Other things you could have here is your picture. So you could have your picture. What I prefer to do is I don't have my picture in my version which I submit as a email copy or as a soft copy. But when I take a printout and when I'm going for an interview, I usually take a printout and I paste the picture at the top right. Back in the day when I was interviewing maybe 3 4 years back, when I used to add a picture, ATS or the resume scanning system which some of the recruiters used to use, they could not they could not process the picture, or they that used to affect my ETS score, or that was the reason I have not put the picture. But now I believe those systems have become better. Now those systems can read images as well, and they can identify images, and they are able to process images. So it is okay if you want to put a picture here in your soft copy as well. Location, another thing I noticed was location. So location is up to you. So if you are looking for a job in a very particular location, let me take an example. So if you are somebody who are staying in Mumbai, for example, like me, and who are looking for a job only in Mumbai, then it is a good idea to put a location in your resume, because then the recruiter would know, and they would identify you as somebody who's staying in Mumbai, and they would probably, if the role is in say Bangalore, they may probably filter you out. Okay, but if you are somebody who is open for mobility, or if you're open for relocation, then I think you should not be putting your location. Then if you put your location, it might act against you, and it might filter you out, just because they might feel that okay, this person is in Mumbai, and he may not want to relocate to Bangalore. So depending on your mobility situation, you can either put your location or not put your location. If you're mobile, if you're okay to relocate to any other location, then you should not be putting your location, is what has worked with me. Okay, so hope that answers, hope that covers the your first section, which is your name and your contact details. Okay, any questions on this section, the name and the contact details? Let me know in the chat box. Happy to take them now. If not, we can move to the second section, which is a professional summary, or your key objectives. Some people call it key objectives. You added professional email ID, so you can have your Gmail or your Ymail. That is fine. So if you don't have a professional email ID, ideally most people will not. So you can have your Gmail and the Ymail and the Hotmail. All of those email IDs are fine. Please also guide me on the resume for a person who wants to switch to FP&A profile from some other department. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about some of the examples there. So Pavni, just give it maybe 10 more minutes, and we'll come to some of those examples. Okay, so I'm hoping that we are good with the name and the contact section, and we'll go next to the professional summary. Some people call it key objectives. So we'll move to the second section. Okay, so now we're talking about the professional summary, or the key objectives, which is what you will see in most resumes as the first section in most of the resumes, where there will be a 2 to 3 sentence summary. And usually when a recruiter picks up your resume, or when any manager picks up your resume, this is the first thing they will read. And if they don't find this relevant, they may probably not read the rest of your resume. So this section is very important, because from my experience, I can tell you, when I am scanning the resume, this is the part of the resume I pay maximum attention to while reading. And I only go to the next parts of the resume if I feel, after reading this resume, the candidate is relevant with my requirements. Okay, if it's not relevant with my requirements, I may not even read the remaining part of the resume. Okay, so there is a question, will we get the recording? So yes, you will get the recording. So I'll make sure that the recording is available to you. It'll be emailed, or it'll be available on the LMS. So there's a question, if you're trying to relocate to another location and checking jobs only in that specific country, how can we mention the location? So if you're, say for example, if you're in Mumbai, and if you're trying to relocate to say Dubai, then you should mention Dubai on your CV, and you should make sure that you are available if you get shortlisted to for interviews and all of that. So you can mention that in your resume as Dubai. And yeah, if you are specifically looking to relocate to a new location, you may want to put that as a location in your resume. Okay, but you should make sure that whenever the interview, or whenever they call you, you should be able to be able to move there, or maybe able to take a flight there and be there for the interview. Okay, so let's move to the professional experience section, or the key objective section. So you can call it key objectives also. Okay, so one of the mistakes I've seen people do is they make this section very long. So ideally, this section should not be more than 3 bullet points. Even I have made the mistake of like making it slightly long. Ideally, this should not be more than 3 bullet points, or if you are doing a paragraph, it should not be more than 2 to 3 sentences. I've seen people write professional summaries which is half a page long, and it takes like half of the first page. which should not be the case in most cases. Okay, so ideally you should try to summarize it in 2 to 3 sentences. That should be the max you should be aiming for. Okay, so let's talk more about the professional summary or the key objective. Okay, so let's take an example of the first sentence here. Okay, FP&A professional with 13 plus years of experience. This is an older CV. So maybe 2 years back, I had 1 year back, I had updated this. So 13 years plus experience of finance and FP&A, 13 years of finance and FP&A experience working with organizations like EY, City, and Coursera. Okay, so this is my first sentence of the professional resume or my professional summary. Okay, so what my thought process is while writing the professional summary or the key objective statement is to be able to make a very strong and very immediate impression. Okay, so my objective of writing the professional summary or what goes behind my thought of writing the professional summary is that after reading the professional summary, the recruiters should read the entire resume. So that should be your objective of writing the professional summary. Your professional summary or your key objectives should be good enough. I'm not saying it should be the best. I'm saying it should be good enough for you to make the recruiter or the manager curious about you and continue reading the remaining part of the CV. So that is the main objective of the key or the key objective of the professional summary or the key objective section in your resume. Okay, so making a strong and immediate impression so that the recruiter continues to read the remaining or your entire CV. Yeah, already mentioned this. So goal is to capture your recruiter's attention. It should concisely, in very few sentences, highlight your experience and key skills. Okay, so here it does that, right? So FP&A professional with 13 years of experience in finance and FP&A working with these companies. So in one sentence, I've mentioned the key highlights and experience what I've had in the last maybe 10 plus years should be the objective of the key objective statement or your professional summary. Okay, what value can you bring to the organization? Okay, what value can you bring to the organization? So if you can think of anything that you can help the organization that you are going to interview for, ideally you could put this there, so that will make or that will capture the recruiter's attention and the recruiter will be keen to read the remaining part of your CV. So if you can bring out any value that you can bring to the organization, that can be one of the points that you can mention in your professional summary. Okay, it should not be vague. So if you notice in the entire professional summary, I've tried to be very specific, right? So 13 plus years of experience, top 20 FP&A professional, okay, world's top 20. So here there is a specific number. Build a community of 140,000 plus professionals. So very specific. Number 14 on the bestseller list in the management. So try to be as specific as possible. You should not be having vague statements here. So make sure that you have very specific statements. Try to quantify it. When you quantify anything, it makes it very specific and it makes it more believable compared to if you don't quantify it and if you don't have a very specific statement. Okay, so yeah, that is the objective of the professional summary. One mistake I already talked about, which we will talk about later also when we cover the mistakes, is that don't make this very long. Make sure you keep it to me maximum 2 to 3 sentences. Keep these points in mind. Try to make an immediate impression. Try to uh, have a concise statement that highlights your key experiences. It should not be vague and it should be quantifiable. If you can, you should go ahead and you should quantify your experience. So okay, hope that helps. Any questions on the key professional summary or the professional summary section or the key objective section? Okay, what I want you to do is I want you to think about your professional summary and I want you to put down 1 or 2 sentences that you think you could have in your professional summary. I will just quickly review the first few that come on the chat box and we will take a look if anything can be improved on that. So I want you to think about your professional, I mean, you should be able to do this, right? You should be able to write 2 sentences where you keep all these points in mind. You have to make a strong impression. You have to not be vague. You have to think about if any value that you can bring to the organization, any concise statements that highlight your experience and key skills. So take maybe a minute or 2 minutes and write 2 or 3 sentences and we will audit or we will just review the first few that are coming in the chat box. Okay, so I see one which is Sunil. Thank you so much. So experience SaaS consulting. Sorry, let me just reread that. Let me just make the chat box slightly bigger. Okay, so experienced SaaS consultant specializing in finance automation and certified FP&A professional. Okay, proven strategic executive in GTM. Okay, GTM is go to market, business planning and market expansion. Expert in GST with knowledge of direct taxes, customs, foreign trade policy, and pre-GST laws. Strong foundation in accounting, tax, and finance concepts. Okay, so this is one example that Sunil has shared. Okay, so do you think this is specific, or this does it satisfy the condition of, is it specific or is it vague? What do you feel, people who are reading it? So is it very specific or is it vague? Just put it in the chat box. Okay, people are afraid to. Okay, people are afraid to give reviews, but yeah, we know the saying, it is good but not very specific. So see, it is specific in terms of your expertise, but it's not quantifying your experience, right? So I don't know right now if you have 2 years of experience or if you have 20 years of experience, right? So ideally, a better statement could be SaaS consultant with, I don't know, 5 years of experience in finance automation and certified. So maybe adding that could give the recruiter or the somebody who's reviewing the CV a good idea of what kind of experience that you possess. Maybe he's looking for somebody who's 10 years of experience. And if you can mention that in your resume, maybe that could be a match. Okay. Without this, he won't know what he'll have to go to the next section, right? Which he may or he may not, or she may or she may not, right? So you don't want to take that chance. Ideally, you want to quantify it in the very beginning. Okay. Let me again. So again, here you have mentioned many different finance functions or many different finance skills, right? You're talking about FP&A. You're also talking about income tax and GST, which is on the taxation. And then you are also talking about accounting. Okay. So if I am applying for a FP&A role, I will not talk about GST and I'll not talk about taxation. Okay, I'll not talk about it. Even if I am good at it, I will not talk about it, because what the recruiter will feel, okay, this person is jack of all and he doesn't know, or he may not have in-depth experience in whatever I am looking for, which is FP&A. Okay, so if I am going for audit role or if I am applying for an audit role, my professional summary will be only talking about audit role. If I am applying for an FP&A role, my professional summary will be talking only about FP&A role. If I am applying for a taxation role, my professional summary will only talk about taxation. It will not talk about FP&A or audit or accounting. Unless you're applying for a general finance manager role, which takes care of everything, then and only then you can have all of these things. So it is very specific to your application wherever you apply. So depending on the position that you are applying for, you need to tailor the professional summary. So I think the key takeaway here is the summary or the entire resume cannot be one standard resume that you've made once and then you apply for all the roles that you come across. That cannot be the case. That can be the case only if you are applying for, say, one particular expertise in one particular industry. And in that case, maybe you can just use one resume. But if you're applying for FP&A role in, say, a pharma company also, and you're applying for a audit role in a automobile company also, you cannot be using the same resume for both applications. Hope that is clarified here. Okay, it is. Yeah, I think people have given good good reviews. So we'll take maybe one more and then we can go to the next one. So seasoned finance and accounting professional with a robust track record of over 5 years in delivering comprehensive financial management, tax compliance, and auditing services. Okay, adept at preparing MIS, uh, facilitating audits, managing complex tax returns, overseeing financial reporting in compliance with IFRS, and driving processes improvements that enhance accuracy and efficiency. Okay, leverage extensive experience and skills to drive financial management and support organization growth in a challenging and a dynamic environment. So, what do you think about Manoj's professional experience summary? What do you feel about that? Does it satisfy all these criteria, or at least some of these criteria, or it does not? So we're talking about Manoj's experience now, or Manoj's. Okay, maybe people are still reading it. So what I can say from this is, it could be slightly shorter. So this is, I think, more than 3 sentences. So try to concise this. Try to make this a more crisp, Okay, what I would suggest is maybe there are some words here which may not be required in a summary, which can come later on in the main experience. Okay, so you don't have to give everything in the summary. You have to maybe just summarize it, maybe using the keywords, and you don't have to go into very detail like driving process improvement, enhancing accuracy. All those can maybe later come on in the work experience section. Okay, also slightly vague, right? Except for the 5 years of experience that you can see, rest of the things are very vague. Leverage extensive experience and skills to drive strategic financial management and support organizations. So looking at the second statement here, I could I couldn't say that this couldn't be written by anybody else, right? So one thing you should test your professional summary is that can somebody copy paste it and use it without changing anything, right? If that is the case, then it is not a very specific, concise, or it's a very vague professional summary, right? I can just use this leverage extensive experience and skills to drive strategic financial management and support organization growth. Okay, I can just use it and it is applicable to anybody and everybody. So in that case, it is not very specific. It is vague, is what I am saying. So maybe try to concise it, make it shorter and make it less vague, make it more specific to you. Okay, so I think in the interest of time, we'll move to the next section, and if we have time at the end after the Q&A, we'll take more, we'll review more professional summaries. So all those people who have put it in the chat, we'll come back to it at the end if we have time. Okay. Okay. So any questions on the professional summary? Any questions that come to your mind after looking at whatever I have shared that we can take now, or else we'll go to the next section. Okay. So let's move to the next section. We can again take questions at the end. Okay. So okay, we are not yet done with the professional summary. So again, we'll give some more examples of not so effective professional summaries. Okay. So experienced FP&A professional with a strong background in finance and track record of success. Okay. Somebody can easily copy paste and use it for their CV. Not very specific, very vague. Okay. A finance professional seeking to leverage. I think I saw this somewhere, right? Yeah, this is very common. Maybe somebody has copied it from somebody. Okay. A finance professional seeking to leverage extensive industry knowledge in a dynamic financial environment. Very specific, very vague, not at all specific. Anybody can pick up and copy paste in their resume. In fact, I used to do this when I used to prepare the resume in my early days. I used to just take my friend's resume and copy the objective statement from his resume and just it didn't matter, right? We both of you maybe are in the same job profile and you could easily copy paste. But that should not be the case. You should tailor it or you should make it very specific to your experience and your expertise. Okay. Okay. Not so effective. Let's take a look at effective. Okay. Again, same example that I showed in my. So what makes it effective? So what is making it effective is the things that we will talk about. So the first section, which is the yellow highlighted section, is FP&A lead with 14 years of experience, including direct responsibility for managing a 500 million expense budget at Citibank. Okay, so this is a statement or an example of you making it specific from vague, right? And doesn't have to be FP&A. You could say if you have worked in audit for 5 years, okay. Audit manager with 5 years of experience, including direct responsibility for managing a $2 billion client at, if you can name the client, you can name the client. If you cannot, but just stay at a $2 billion client, okay. $2 billion turnover client, okay. So something like that you can make very specific. The second sentence, increase forecast accuracy by 10% at Coursera, okay, or any company that you worked at. So again, if you see, it's very specific what you have done. Uh, Again, this is quantifying it, where you have done it. Okay, you don't find all of these details in the. Okay, nobody can just pick this and copy paste it. Right? They'll have to make some amendments if they have to just copy paste it. Okay, okay. So think about what experience you've had and also the result. Okay, so here you see the experience. The yellow part is the experience. So what I like to do is I like to do three things if you can. Okay, if you cannot, at least you can do two things. Okay, if you cannot do the third thing, that is fine. So have the first part as your experience and you quantify that. Okay, FP&A lead with 14 years of experience, you could easily do that for yourself, and very specific names of the companies that you have worked with, what result you've brought in, or what is the impact you've created in any of your prior roles that you are proud to talk about. Okay, so maybe one of that could be improve forecast accuracy at one of my prior roles, so I can maybe talk about that. So the first part talks about the experience and quantifies the experience in two ways. It quantifies it. One is the number of years, and the second is the size of the client, okay, size of the company. So two ways you can quantify your experience. And what is the result that you have brought in? Okay, again, I've picked one example, but there could be many examples. You could have worked on an automation project and you could have helped the company save hundreds of hours of time. Okay, so in that case, it will be worked on an or executed an automation project with improvement of 10 or 100 hours at XYZ company. Okay, whatever it be, what is the impact or what is the result that you have brought in? And third is maybe not for everybody, but if you have won some award, or if you've been nominated for certain award, or if you've won certain, if you've had certain achievement which uh, you can use to distinguish yourself from your peers or your I mean from others, is what you should target. Okay, so if you've won some award, okay, recognize as the top 10, I don't know, top 10, recognize among the top 10 audit professionals in particular city. Okay, I don't know. You can, if you have won something or if you have a recognition, you can maybe add it. But not necessarily. These two sentences should be good enough for your professional summary. Okay, let's take an example of auditor. So not FP&A, but some other finance professions auditor. Okay, seasoned auditor with 5 years of experience, recognized for making process improvement. So here you have used your experience, you've quantified it once. Okay, that has enhanced reporting accuracy by 25%. So again, these percentages are slightly ballpark figures. It need not be like it need not be exactly 25%. So if you know that you have helped the company improve by 20 to 30%, you can use a ballpark figure, say 25%. Accountant with 3 years of experience and helped cut the month end close time by 40%. Okay, so these are some examples where you've quantified your experience and you've brought in your key result, or you've brought in your whatever the impact you have made on the organization. Okay, so the question in the chat box is Neelu is asking, if you do not have core FP&A experience, it's a part of FP&A, then what can you mention? 1 year experience in as financial analysis includes forecasting, variance analysis, cost control, and some reporting. Okay, so say for example, if you don't have a lot of FP&A experience, you can talk about your other experience. So you're talking about your experience as an accountant, and you're at the end you're mentioning that you want to move into an FP&A role. You're saying that you have an experience and an auditor, okay, and you're talking about, okay, I want to move into an FP&A role. So if you have zero FP&A experience, you should talk about your present role, what experience you have, what are the some skills that you can transfer or bring into FP&A or any other profile that you want to move in, and then finally mention that, okay, you are looking for a role in FP&A. So this is what you could do if you have zero experience in FP&A. But if you have some experience, or if you have 1 year of experience, you can mention that you have 1 year of experience. If not having core FP&A experience a part of FP&A, we can mention, yes, you can mention that, yes. All right, so yeah, that now brings us to the end of the professional summary section. I'll take maybe a pause for 10 seconds, see if there are any questions on this section. If not, we will go to the next part. Okay, so what is the next part in the resume? Okay, so after the professional summary, we come to the main body of the resume, which is your professional experience. So we'll talk about this next. But I'm just checking if there are any questions on the chat box. So we'll move to the next section. If you have questions, you can put it in the chat box. We'll come back to it later. Okay, so the next section is your work experience or your professional experience. Okay, I'll quickly talk about some of the thoughts or the best practices that you should follow. Okay, highlight results, not just duties. So make sure you bring out results if wherever you can, not necessarily throughout your resume, but say in say for example, if you are writing 4 bullet points for your one of the roles, and at least you know, okay, I've done some I've brought in some results or I've created some impact, at least one of those 4 bullet points could be highlighting results and not just duties. Doesn't have to be the entire resume, but at least maybe 10-20% of your resume should talk about the results that you have generated, or the results or the impact that you have created. Okay, you should sell your experience. So not just summarizing your experience, but sell your experience. I'll take some examples when I come to the examples, but keep this in mind. You should be selling your experience and not just summarizing your experience. Okay, quantifying achievements, you already talked about this in the summary. So you should be quantifying your achievements on your CV. And when you go for your interview, you should be using the STAR technique. We'll talk about the STAR technique in one of the upcoming sites. But keep that in mind. While you're creating the CV, you should quantify your achievements. Okay, sell your expertise, highlight results. And when you go to the interview, you use the same materials or the same bullet points, and you use the star technique in the interview, which we will talk about in the next slide. This is one of the most important points. If I had known this, I could have generated more offers. I could have got more. I could have had more interview success, is what I can say. Customize for the role and use of keywords. So what I see people making mistake is using the same CV everywhere. So I will just update my CV whenever I have to in 1 year, or maybe in after 2 years. I just decided, okay, today I need to update my CV and I have to start applying for FP&A or any other roles. Okay, so I update my CV, and what I do is I just update it across all the job websites, and then I stop, and then that's it. No other effort is involved, right? You don't. Whenever you are applying with the same CV. So ideally, what you should do is you should take a look at the job description. Make sure that your job description, you pick up some of the keywords from the job description, and you tailor 10-20% of the resume to be very relevant to that particular job description. Okay, what this will do? Can anybody tell me what this will help you to, why we are doing this? So why am I telling you to customize your CV for every role or every application? Okay, why do you think I'm okay? ATS, okay, helps in shortlisting. Okay, so these are valid reasons. Okay, these are valid. So it will rank you higher in the scanning process, right? Because what the tool does, if there are 1,000 resumes, it will match the keywords, and it will pick up the top 20 resumes, and only the top 20 resumes will go to the HR or the recruiter. The remaining 980 resumes will not go anywhere. It will be scrapped out. Okay. So if you customize your resume, the chances of you ranking higher in that ATS increases. Simple reason is that not everybody takes that effort. Okay, if everybody starts taking that effort, then this is also not relevant. But uh, from my experience, only 5% of the people take this effort. 95% of the people use the same resume everywhere, and I mean they use the same version of the resume many times, and they don't update it until the time they are changing a role or they are adding another experience. So they don't change the resume for every role, is what I have seen. Okay, so if you're applying say 20 jobs in a month, don't apply for 20 jobs in a month. Only apply for 5 jobs in a month, but apply it in a very customized and a tailored manner. That will increase your chances of getting shortlisted. If that is the problem you're facing, that not getting enough interview calls, apply for less number of roles, but apply for, I mean, spend time tailoring your resume for that particular application that you are making. Okay. Okay. Hope that helps. Another reason is that okay, once your resume is shortlisted, okay, when the recruiter reads it or when the hiring manager reads it, he can make out that you've spent or you've put that effort of reading the job description and making sure that you align with the job description. Or even if they don't make it that out, they will feel, okay, this is somebody who is very customized, or this is the person we are looking for, or that kind of message will get registered. Okay, because uh, these are my requirements, and the person is exactly talking about those things and not talking about anything else. Okay, so apart from ATS, it's also when you go for the interview and the recruiter looks at your resume at that time also it will help. Okay, formatting, I should not maybe spend more time on this, but make sure that your resume is well formatted. If you notice here in my resume, when I shared, every word has earned its place. So I have never not used the second sentence in most of the bullet point, right? What I've seen is people use 2 or 3 sentences for one bullet point, and where easily some of the words could have been edited out. Make sure that every word in your resume is relevant, and if it's not required, you can edit it out. Okay, so formatting is important, and also making sure that the resume is well edited and reviewed. Okay, so some examples of the professional experience we'll take a look at. Okay, so I'll read it out. So this is for a senior financial analyst, somebody who's working as an analyst. Okay, uh, spearheaded budget overhaul that cut cost by 20% within the first year. Developed a financial modeling tool that helped improve forecasting accuracy by 35%. Led a cross-functional departmental team to streamline quarterly financial reporting, reducing time spent 25% and increase reporting accuracy. So you can see that all of the things that we discussed here, okay, you are trying to sell your experience, you are highlighting results. So everywhere you're trying to highlight your results, okay. Cut costs by 20%, improved accuracy by 35%, and reduce time spent by 25. So you're trying to quantify and you're trying to sell your expertise. LinkedIn jobs generally, so I'm taking a question now in the chat box. LinkedIn jobs generally do not give interviews even with custom CVs, keywords to match GDs. How do we increase the chances of shortlisting on any other website portals to be looked out? Okay, so we'll talk about this. Let's park this. So whatever I'm saying, I think twice I mentioned, right? Let's park this. We'll take that at the end. So how do we overcome this challenge? I have some answers, but it's not very easy, but it's doable. But we'll talk about it at the end. So not relevant to this section. That's why I'm not taking it right now, but we'll take it at the end. Okay. Second example, again, I'll not read this, but this is for somebody who's working in non-FP&A role, say an audit role, and I think most of us start in accounting audit and they want to move to FP&A. So this is an example of a job description that they could have. Okay, senior auditor at ABC firm, identified and addressed risk preventing potential losses of $100,000. Okay, I'm sure if you worked in audit, you must have identified some errors, some improvements that you must have suggested, which the client must have liked, and that could have resulted in some savings or some potential savings, if not savings. If that risk was not caught, maybe it could have resulted in some mishap. So maybe you could try quantifying that, obviously with staying within the boundaries, uh, and led automation process that led to 15% improvement. So you can see that you can do this for any role, not just FP&A. And ideally, you should be talking about results. You should be trying to quantify your achievements and try to sell yourself. This is what is happening in these examples. Okay, another example, which is for somebody who's an accountant, somebody who's working in the controller team. Okay, oversaw capital budgeting process to guide decisions on $50 million worth of investments. Develop dashboards to track KPIs in real time, saving 200 hours on 200 hours annually on manual reporting. Okay, so these are some examples where you can quantify your achievements, you can sell your experience, market your experience instead of just summarizing your experience. So hope that gives you some idea. And what I would expect, or what would be the best outcome from this webinar is you go back to your CV and make sure that you don't make all of the mistakes that we talked about, and you follow some of the practices that are shared, and see if that can help you in your job search process. Okay, we talked about the STAR process, right? So I mentioned that you should be quantifying your achievements on your resume, and you should use the STAR process in the or the STAR framework in the interview. I think most of you should be knowing this who have done some work on the interview prep. Okay, so say for example, this is an interview question. Can you describe a time when you improved a forecasting process? Okay, very simple interview question. Okay, so how can you answer any interview question, not just this one? Okay, you talk about the situation first. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, in my previous role as an FP&A analyst, our forecasting process was manual, time consuming, taking 2 weeks to complete. Okay, so this is talking about what was the situation before. Okay, and usually when you create this type of framework, or when you're talking about a story, it has to be something not good before, and then you've improved it, and at the end it has become better. So this is a kind of a storyline that you can follow. Okay, so in my previous role as an FP&A analyst, our forecasting process was manual, time consuming, taking 2 weeks to complete. That delayed him, or that was a hurdle in decision making, and it frustrated a lot of people, okay, in the company. So that was a problem. Okay, you can also think of this as a problem, any problem that you have solved. So maybe talk about the problem in the S, which is a situation. Task. Okay, I was responsible, or I was assigned the task of revamping the entire process to reduce the time needed for completion, also improving the accuracy. So this is the task, or this is the action. I mean, this is what you are supposed to do. This is the task. What is the action that you took? You initiated across, and again, this is an example, and you can build this for your particular use case. And I'll show you how to use ChatGPT also. So I've generated this out of ChatGPT. So I'll just tell you how I did that. Okay, I initiated a cross-functional review to understand pain points in the existing process. Then I implemented an automated forecasting tool and integrated with our ERP system. So this is actually talking about the details of what you did, and the final is the result, which is as a result of all of this, our forecasting accuracy improved by whatever 10%, 30%, 40%, whatever the improvement was brought in. Okay, please share the recording of the class as well. Yeah, so definitely I mentioned that, right? So you will get the recording of this session. Okay, so can you give me some examples of the interview questions that you come across, and I'll show you how to prepare for this. How do you draft these type of responses? So just give me some examples. You just give me one or two questions that you come across in FP&A interviews or any finance interviews. Okay, I'm looking at the chat box, but in the absence of any question, I'll probably generate something on my own. Okay, the question is just like we did the star. So I want you to be able to build this on your own, right? I want you to be able to do this on your own. So this is a question we answered, right? Can you describe a time when you improved a forecasting process? So any other questions that come to your mind which you have been asked in the interview, which are similar to these, where you can have a situation, action, result. Okay, let me take a very common example. Okay, so let's take this example. How have you reduced, or how have you helped the company to reduce cost? Okay, so what I will do is I'll tell ChatGPT, can you help me answer this interview question using star framework? Okay, so this is a command I am giving, very simple, right? Natural language, or very, I'm not using any technical words. And I'll just paste the question that Sada has given me, and I'll just say enter. Okay, so here is an example. Okay, situation: in my previous role as an FP&A analyst, the company was facing higher than expected operational costs, specifically in the supply chain department. You don't have to use this exactly same, right? You have to copy this and make it very specific to you, but this gives you the framework. I can change this, saying that in my previous role as an FP&A analyst, the company was facing maybe some other issue, but the framework is there for you to do the fill in the blanks. Specifically the IT department, or maybe the HR department. This could be different for your different company, right? And I was assigned with the task of identifying cost saving opportunities without compromising quality. I think this is something everybody can use. I think this is what most people would strive for. I conducted a thorough analysis of all the company's vendors procurement processes. Mind you, you have to replace whatever you've done here. But what this does is it gives you a very good framework to prepare for your interviews. And as a result, we achieved 15% reduction in procurement costs in the first 6 months. Okay, so while you're preparing for interviews, anticipate these questions, and you can prepare for these, and you can use this framework, which is situation, task, action, and result for the interviews. In the CV, in the resume, you should be only talking about the result. All the task, action, everything can come in the interview. Okay, so hope that helps. Uh, okay, so let's go to the next part. Any questions on the professional experience? So we have now completed the professional experience part, which is this part, the main part of the resume. Okay. Can anybody tell me how many professional experience should you have? Say if you've been working for 10 years, and if you have worked for 5 different companies, should you have all 5 experiences, or you should only have the top three or the most recent ones? Okay, more than 10. Okay, so maybe people are still thinking. So when you have had more than 5 experiences, especially if you've been working for maybe 10, 15 years, ideally what you should focus on is on the most recent experience. So if you notice, my most recent experience is what I'm more focusing on. The oldest experience, I'm just maybe writing one or two lines. This could be one approach. You focus more on your recent, and the older ones you just mention one or two sentences. Another approach could be, if you're looking for an audit role, and if your last three roles have been not audit roles but some other role, but the fourth and the fifth role has been audit role, then you talk less about the last two roles and you talk more about the audit roles, because you are applying for audit roles. Okay, so depending on your situation, ideally in most cases you would talk more about your recent roles. But in case if you had different roles and if you're applying for a particular role, in that case you will talk more about that particular role rather than any other role. Okay, this is again how you customize your CV for every different application. Okay, so that brings us to the education section. So let's talk quickly about the education section. I think that's not going to be a big discussion. So education, very similar, very simple, right? You have to mention your highest professional and your highest academic qualification. So whatever is your highest professional and your highest academic qualification, you should mention. Uh, don't mention your class 10th, class 12th if you have 5+ years of experience. For freshers, it is fine, but if you have already 5+ years of experience, you don't have to mention your class 10th and class 12th. You can directly start with your graduation. Okay, not applicable for people who are freshers. So for if you're freshers, maybe you may want to mention the class 12th and your different levels of your CA if you've done different levels of CA, so say CPT and IPCC, all of that you can mention. But after you say complete 5 years, you don't need all of that. You can remove all of that. You can just have your final CA or your one professional qualification and your one academic qualification. Yeah. Usually resume should be one page, so accommodate so there's a question from Manoj. Usually resume should be one page, so to accommodate the recent ones. Yeah, so ideally you should try to make your resume as short as possible. I try always to make my resume into one page. Right now it's just spilling over maybe few sentences, but if I had to send this to some recruiter, I would have made sure that I found out a way to edit some areas and make it one page. Ideally, one page is the thing that you should strive for. However, if it's not doable, then maybe 1.5 page. You should not go beyond 2 pages, is what I have experienced. That if you have like 3 pages, 4 pages resume, not a lot of people will be reading that. So yeah, not worth having longer resumes. So there's a question for someone with more than 10, 15 years experience. The person will probably have worked in many different units, departments, and branches to achieve the one pager CV target. What is the best? So yeah, so for people who have had 15 years of experience, in that case, you might go to the second page, but try not to write paragraphs and paragraphs. So you should not be writing uh, 10 bullet points for the role which you have worked maybe 10 years back, right? One or two bullet point is fine, and talk more about your most recent role. Okay. If you've had 15 years of experience, then more focus should be on your last 3 to 5 years rather than your first, second, or your third role. Okay. So I think that should do it with the education. So ideally, you should mention your highest certifications, degrees. Uh, if you have taken any courses relevant to your expertise, like if you're an auditor and if you've taken certifications in audit, or if you are in FP&A and if you've taken a certification in FP&A, maybe you could include that. That could give you a boost or that could help you, differentiate yourself from the other candidates. So if you've taken any certification very specific to your role, that may be added to this. Okay. And the last section is interests and hobbies. Okay. So here you see the interests and hobbies. Usually it's at the end of the resume. And I see a lot of people don't have the interest and hobbies, but I think it is an important part of the resume. It gives your prospective employers a good look into your personality. So usually people are not just hiring, they're not just hiring, right? They're not hiring uh, machines, right? They're hiring people. So they may want to know, it will be good to know what is your interest, what is your hobby. And I've had many situations where I've talked more on the hobbies in the interview than on the main professional experience. And those interviews have been the best interviews. Okay. So gives an idea of your what it shows you what do you do apart from your work experience, right? It tells them that you have a balanced life. Only include one thing that I've seen is only include points that you genuinely are interested in or you genuinely practice. Okay, don't put something for the sake of putting. Okay, if you're putting, say, I like reading and I've read 20 books, then you should be able to answer questions. Or if I ask you, okay, what is the last book you've read in the interview, you should be able to have a hold a 2 minute conversation on that. Okay, it should not happen that you don't remember any of the books that you have read, especially if your hobby is reading. Okay, and also certain hobbies or interests can be highlighted if they are aligned with the job role. So, for example, I don't have any, so I cannot talk about it on the my resume. But say, for example, if you are having a hobby, say, just I'm making it up. If you are having a hobby of, say, to I don't know, maybe becoming the best at Microsoft Excel. Okay, so maybe that is your hobby. You like doing that. You like improving about, or you like learning about some particular tool or some particular area which is actually in line with the role. I think that can also help you in your resume. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end of the resume section. So that's all I had. I'll just quickly talk about the common mistakes which we have already covered during the session. Okay, so not something new. I'll just summarize whatever the mistakes we have talked about. Okay, so some common mistakes you should avoid is you should not just summarize your experience, you should market your expertise. We already talked about that in the interview, not in the interview, the experience and the which section did we talk about? In the work experience or the professional experience section. Okay. Make sure it's not too long. Maximum it should be 2 pages. Try having it in 1 page, but if not, don't make it 3, 4, 5 pages. Not quantifying the impact or result is one of the common mistakes which we talked about. Uh, Make sure that you get it reviewed by somebody, especially don't have any type type typing mistakes or spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes. Get it reviewed by a friend so that you make sure that somebody has reviewed it. And some mistakes you may not be able to find out, but when you get it reviewed by your when you get another pair of eyes, you will see those, or they will tell you some of the mistakes. Okay, don't misrepresent anything. All the things that we talked about, using AI and using ChatGPT, make sure that you tailor and customize to your particular role. What I've seen is people who misrepresent, usually they get, I mean, they get caught, and then it's not a very pleasant situation to be in. So don't misrepresent, because somebody who's interviewing you is far more experienced to catch those type of misrepresentations, right? And that could not be a pleasant situation in the interview if you misrepresent something, and the interviewer asks you questions about it, and you're not able to answer it. If you're not able to answer that, probably it is the end of your interview. Okay, ignoring the needs of the employer. So that is where the customizing resume comes into play. So when you are customizing your resume for every role, you are paying attention to what the role requires, what the employer is looking for, and that is something that can help you over your other people who have applied for that role. Okay, not overusing or using buzzwords, right? We talked about this while we were discussing the professional summary or the key objective, right? You should be very specific, not be vague. Make sure that it is very tailored to your personality. Don't use any buzzwords or just filler words just to just for the sake of it. Okay, so these were the common mistakes. So that brings us to the end of the session today. Okay, so there are some books and training programs that if you are interested in, you can check out, which is very specific for FP&A roles. So if you're looking to make a career in FP&A, these are the couple of books you can check out. This entire presentation was actually one of the chapters of my book, From Accounting to FP&A. So if you want to know more about it, maybe the other parts of the book, you can check out. This is available on Amazon. Also is my other book, which is all about FP&A, which is talking about different concepts in FP&A, or it it synthesizes different FP&A concepts in a very easy to understand manner. Especially if you're a beginner in FP&A, I would highly recommend you read these, or at least have these books for your reference when you're preparing for interviews, or even if you are working in an FP&A role. Okay, apart from these, we have our FP&A Masterclass Batch 14 that I talked about in the beginning. So that next batch, or batch 14, is starting tomorrow, and we have a couple of spots just in case you've already 20 people have registered for it and you're starting that batch tomorrow. I see some of you here as well who are going to join tomorrow. So there are 2 spots left. I think 1 or 2 spots left. If you are interested, just reach out to me on DM or LinkedIn, and I'll be happy to connect you if you want to join that. Okay, so the timings are on Saturdays. So it's 5 Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So 5 Saturdays into 2 hours each. So 10 hours of live sessions. And it covers 4 modules: budgeting, forecasting, management, reporting, and analysis, storytelling and presentations, and business partnering. So these are the 4 modules. Okay, so the cost is 347 US dollars, and you can pay that in 2 installments. Okay, that brings us to the end of the webinar. And if there are any questions, and I have parked a couple of questions, so I'll take those for sure. But if you have any questions, let me know. We can take those questions in the next 10 minutes. Okay. In the meanwhile, I'll just go back to the few questions that I had in the parking lot. Okay, so there was one question which I had mentioned that I'll come back to. Okay, so LinkedIn jobs generally do not give much interviews even with custom CVs. Okay, how do we increase the chances of listing on LinkedIn or any other website? Okay, so let's talk more about LinkedIn because the question specifically starts with the LinkedIn. Okay, so if you want to increase your chances of getting more views or more shortlistings on LinkedIn, make sure you have a very optimized LinkedIn profile. So, if you are working in an FP&A role, you make sure that each and every section of your LinkedIn profile, and I think I have a slide which I usually cover in a longer webinar. So let me just bring that up. Yeah, so you should make sure each and every section of your LinkedIn profile, which is your experience section, summary section, certification section, education section. So there are 20 plus profiles or sections in your LinkedIn profile. Making sure that each of those sections are optimized for your particular job description. I am taking one example. Okay, if I am working in FP&A, I'll make sure my experience talks about FP&A. I'll talk. I'll make sure the summary section has the FP&A keyword at least 3 times. I'll make sure I'll have at least 2 to 3 FP&A relevant certifications. I'll make sure I have at least one or two, or this is not something I can make sure, but if I have awards in FP&A, I'll make sure that I put it there. I'll talk about FP&A in my education section. I'll talk about FP&A budgeting forecasting in my skills section. I'll talk about FP&A in my accomplishment section. I'll talk about FP&A in my articles. I'll talk about FP&A in my profile headline. I'll talk about FP&A in my volunteer experience. So all these are different sections of your LinkedIn profile. It has to talk about one particular skill, one particular profile that you are good at or in which you are looking for a job. And this has helped me rank higher in LinkedIn, especially I believe all the jobs that I've got in the last 5 years have come as a DM to me on LinkedIn. So I think all of these things have helped me. And it is not because so some people might feel it might be because of the following, but this was the case even if when I had less than 2,000 people in my network. So right now maybe it's 140,000. Maybe that is the reason you might feel that is happening, but it is not the case. It was happening even before I had a lot of followers. So this, if you optimize the LinkedIn profile, it will work irrespective of your number of connections or followers. Okay? But you have to make sure you spend enough time uh, optimizing your LinkedIn profile. Okay, let me take more questions. Let me see. Please name a few FP&A certifications which can be done online. So let me just name a few. So the few certifications, one I already talked about, the FP&A masterclass. The other one is the 6 month in-depth certification that I talked about, which is a CGFPA. Then there is Association for Finance Professionals has a certification which is called FPAC, which is a US based organization. So if you're looking for roles in the US or if you're in the US, I think that FPAC is a good FP&A certification. Then there is a certification from Wharton and FP&A. So I think these are the few ones which I am familiar, and you can check those out and enroll in the whatever the if you want to uh, based on your requirements. So there's a question. Hello, as a fresher chartered accountant, while salary negotiations phase, what should be the expected pay I should agree with in the FP&A profile? Okay, so Sada, this is a very, very good question. Usually, people once they clear the interview, this is the next area that they get stuck at. So first of all, this is not very specific. This is not global, so this is not a generic answer that I am giving. This is very specific to your particular location. So where are you located? If I can ask, where are you located right now? Where are you looking for jobs? Okay, let's assume I am just assuming. Okay, it's Bangalore, Karnataka, right? So what you should do is you should go on websites like Glassdoor, and I'm sure there are more websites that give you average salary of your experience and your job profile in that particular area. Okay, I'm sure you will be able to find out across different companies in your industry. Say, for example, if you are applying for a role in a say banking industry, okay, just as an example, on websites like Glassdoor, and I'm just mentioning Glassdoor because it's the most common one. There are other websites as well. You can find out what are the average salaries for FP&A analyst, FP&A manager, FP&A director, FP&A VP as an FP&A. So in your case, it might be FP&A analyst or senior analyst. So check what is the salary of a senior analyst who's working in Infosys or who's not Infosys, banking, right? So maybe who's working in Citibank or who's working in Barclays or who's working in JP Morgan or Morgan Stanley. So check, make sure you have those filters on and you will see a ballpark. I'm just taking a guess. It might be between, say, I don't know, 8 lakh rupees INR to maybe 16 lakh rupees INR. So that is your ballpark. And maybe that could help you negotiate better in your salary discussion. Even a better way would be to reach out to somebody who's working in FP&A in that particular role in on LinkedIn. If you know them, don't ask strangers about their salary. But if you know somebody who's connected to you on LinkedIn, you can just ask him, can I just give you a call and I need some help? And in the conversation, you can just check, okay, what should be, and that could be a better way to research rather than relying on the internet. Okay, so I think that brings us to the end. I am almost at time, and thank you so much for joining. And if there are any questions, concerns, do reach out on LinkedIn. I usually respond to all my LinkedIn messages. Maybe even, I mean, maybe it might be at a lag of maybe few days, but if you have any questions, concern, do reach out. For masterclass, what is the payment method accepted? So you can pay on the website. So let me just drop the link of the masterclass. You can pay on the website. So you can pay via credit card or any other mode that are acceptable in the website. And if you're facing any issues, then you reach out to me. Just message me on LinkedIn or on WhatsApp, and I can help you with the. I can connect you with the program manager, and they can help you with alternate options. Okay, thank you so much, Venkat. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Shana. Thanks for your presence, and thanks you for being so attentive. And I will see you again in one of the other webinars that we do, maybe in the few weeks time. Okay, thank you so much. Thanks. Bye bye. Take care.